H.R. 40 has a name. It is the Commission to Study Slavery and Develop Reparation Proposals. Historically, it is, of course, the reflection of the 40 acres and a mule that General Sherman wanted to give the freed slaves, and they were freed at that time, along the southeastern border of the United States. He had 400,000 acres, prepared to give 40 acres so that these families could survive. And the military was going to give them each a mule that they no longer needed so that they could be productive and produce. But the next president snatched it away. The government of the United States snatched it away. H.R. 40 is about the government's action in continuing the legacy or the impact of slavery and the impact of that through the 20th century and even today. John Conyers introduced the legislation in 1989 after he championed with Japanese Americans the passage of the American Civil Liberties Act signed by a Republican President, Ronald Reagan.
My fellow Americans, we gather here today to right a grave wrong. More than 40 years ago, shortly after the bombing of Pearl Harbor, 120,000 persons of Japanese ancestry living in the United States were forcibly removed from their homes and placed in makeshift internment camps. This action was taken without trial, without jury. It was based solely on race.
And that was to respond to the Japanese, rightly so, who were interned in World War II, unfairly and justly. I believe that the reason why it's taken so long is people just couldn't grapple with, why should I have to pay? We're not talking about that. We're talking about the Commission to Study Slavery and to develop what should be the response, what should be the pathway for repair, what should be restoration, what should be the answer as you answered the Japanese in one way. How do you answer 246 years? Do we not deserve that assessment? I think it's also important. I want it to be the launch pad for us understanding the meaningful role that African Americans had in spite of being enslaved in this country, and the only population here today that was enslaved for the period of time. There was our indigenous friends, who we have great respect, Native Americans who are supporting us. They were the first, but it was a different trajectory, albeit they have their challenges that they have expressed and that America has addressed and still needs to address. But in the instance of African Americans, we are the largest population who were enslaved here in the United States. To be able to accept the international concept that when you are injured by the government, and there have been incidences of genocide and others, and what comes up? Repair, restore, reparations. It is not something that should be threatening, intimidating. It should be welcomed, and we should show the world who America really is. In actuality, we've been denied a whole lot of aspects of freedom of speech and freedom of movement, inability or the ability to have protection before your property is taken. The 14th Amendment that says you have certain privileges as citizens, we didn't have all of that. We were victimized by Jim Crow. We were intimidated before there was this migration to the north. And even then, there were certain places that we could not live, certain things that we could not do. I think the nation has to grapple with that. We want to cry a little bit. We want to feel emotional. We want to feel that our story of what contributions African Americans did to build this nation. We want them to know that we're in the United States Capitol built by African Americans. When they go to the White House, built by slaves. Those stories are just stories that people might know. We want to get rid of this sense of race being something we fear.